Ethan, it's good to see you, Coach Elke. How are you doing?
You know, it's a pleasure to be with you gentlemen again. It's been a long off season. The last 7 months or so it just seemed to drag on forever, but it's good to be back in the league with my coaches, my fellow coaches here, and we're getting ready for another season. It's all very exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. Can you tell us what led behind the decision for your keeper this year with Tyreek Hill?
Well, you know, I took a look at my roster, and Patrick Mahomes, of course, you know, arguably the most talented quarterback in the league. Tom Brady, you know, is Tom Brady. He's the GOAT, but when it comes to fantasy football, you know, it's hard to beat Patrick Mahomes. But at the end of the day, I just can't justify using my keeper pick on a quarterback. So, you know, there's that aspect of it. And then I took a look at Jonathan Taylor, who's ranked extremely highly, you know, in the fantasy projections. But, and here's the thing, every year there's a running back like that that's ranked super high. In fact, David Johnson comes to mind, where they just have a rough situation at the quarterback position. And, you know, Taylor may not get hurt. He may not. I have the gut feeling that he will. But either way, I do not believe in Carson Wentz whatsoever. And it reminds me of Adrian Peterson on the Redskins. You know, he's going to be running into a brick wall 3 downs in a row. And it's just, I just can't see that working. So I'm going with Tyreek Hill. He's tried and true. He may have some issues off the field, but, you know, that's in his past now, and it's all right.
Coach, we spoke to DeAndre Hopkins after you made the public announcement for your organization. Can you talk about what he might be going through right now and how you picked Tyreek Hill over perhaps one of the greatest wide receivers in the game?
Well, you know what, DeAndre, he is more physically talented, I think, you know, height and vertical jump and strength-wise than Tyreek Hill, but he just doesn't put up the same numbers that Tyreek does, and that's not really Hopkins' fault. I would say it's more Kyler Murray's fault, if I'm being honest, you know, and maybe Cliff Kingsbury's fault. You know, Patrick Mahomes is throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill, and Hopkins doesn't have Patrick Mahomes, and on top of that, you know, the Cardinals have a running game too, and you know they're not getting the ball to Hop as much as the Chiefs are getting the ball to Tyreek Hill. That's all I have to say about that. It's nothing against Hopkins, you know, necessarily. He can take it that way if he wants to, but you know, it's just a business.
Coach, excuse me, going back to Tyreek, just due to the Super Bowl, their performance, the Chiefs and everything, he quoted saying that he is grinding his tail off this offseason. Would you, like to input, a little bit more as to what he's doing to get ready for the next season?
Well, it sounds like he's doing a little bit of ass kissing using that terminology. So I'll tell you what, he's not going to get a leg up just because he uses the phrase, grinding his ass off.
His tail off.
Well, either way, it's largely the same meaning there, but good for him. We like to hear that athletes are training in the off season, unlike Coach Lampman, who goes up to Las Vegas and who knows what he's doing out there, not preparing for the season, But then again, he didn't win the championship last year either, so I don't know. I guess that's what Vegas gets you. So anyway, I won't speak anymore about what other coaches may be doing in their program, but that's just my stance on
Coach,
that.
you finished beating Coach Lampman 2-1 in y'all's 3 games that y'all had in the regular season. How did you do that? Can you talk about that?
Well, I'd like to tell you it was just pure talent and ability, and I'm just so good at this league and fantasy football in general. But I'll tell you, last year, it's the first year we won the championship, so, we got to stay humble. We got to keep our nose to the grindstone. We can't be getting on our high horse and talking about how good we are just because we beat Coach Lampman twice. Not once, but twice. We don't want to brag about that or anything. It's maybe a fact that happened, and, that's in our rearview mirror now, though. We can't rest on our laurels. We have to beat him twice again. And so, that's pretty much just what we have to do.
Well, Coach, winning the championship last year, do you feel a little hungover? Do you feel like, you've done it?
Well,
you've been there, you've done that.
I think there is a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover, and that same goes for fantasy football. But the fact is, we're still chasing, Coach Lampman and Coach Gonzalez as far as prestige in this league. Having only won 1 title, and so we're gonna continue pursuing those guys. And I think that we're not gonna have a problem being motivated for this season. For that reason, we still have goals to achieve, and it's a new year, and it's been a long off season, as I said. So guys will be ready.
do you worry about like a slump coming up, after winning the championship? Do your guys, how are you getting your guys geared into the next coming year to repeat? What are you doing?
Well, I just show them film from before we won our first title of everyone just raining on our parade, talking about how embarrassing it was that they lost to us, and and how we were always fourth place, and it really reminds them that our rise to prominence, quote unquote, among the media, quote unquote, it's really very recent, and it's their fair weather fans in the media, and so really we don't want to take stock in this praise that we're getting. We want to remember where we came from, and use that as motivation to stay on top.
Coach, last year you made a crucial decision to make the only trade that you have ever initiated in all of 2020, and that was the big trade with Derrick Henry for Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins going to the Lampman Foundation. Actually, you acquired those individuals. Can you talk about that? What led you to make that decision?
Well, I'll tell you, sometimes you just have to pull the trigger when you see a deal that's going to be advantageous to your team, and it wasn't an easy decision. I mean, Derrick Henry, obviously, best running back in the league. It's not even close. This guy is the most productive player in fantasy football, bar none, I think, going into this season. He will be. But, the haul we got in return, when I looked at that, I kind of had a hunch that would get us at least to the title game, and it did. And, I understand that Aaron gets Henry to keep now, and that's largely a reason why I didn't know who to keep this year, is because I had a lot of guys on the same level that weren't quite at the level of elite talent that Henry is. But, we spread the love around a little bit instead of having just one guy, and I think in the end you could see it worked out for us. So it was just, I am very reluctant to trade anybody, but this one was just too good to pass up.
That's awesome, Coach. Who do you have it out for this year? Who do you think is going to have the worst year, and why?
The worst year? I don't know. That's a good question. Someone has to be first, someone has to be last, obviously, and maybe I can reverse jinx myself if I say I'm going to have the worst year. So maybe we'll try that out for size. I'm going to have the shittiest year that a coach has ever had, and we'll just see if that works for me.
And to follow up with that, who do you think is going to have the second worst year?
Ooh, the second worst year. Oh, I see where this is going now. Now I have to predict who's going to get second place.
We got to make a story out of this, Ethan. Headlining.
I don't feel like answering this question anymore, because if I say second worst, you're going to take that to mean second best, and you're going to run with that, and so I don't know. I'm kind of disillusioned now. I don't want to answer this question.
Who do you think is going to have the most challenging year?
Why don't you just sit down and have an ice cold Miller Lite, the world's most refreshing beer? I'm actually confusing my slogans, but I don't want to answer these ranking questions. It's just, I'm waiting for Coach Lampman to release his rankings, and then I'll go off of his rankings and decide what I want to do.
Do you think his rankings are they hold any truth or any accuracy whatsoever? Do they tell a story?
I think that he thinks that the rest of the league waits with holding our breath to see what he thinks, and the truth of the matter is that we really don't care. But when he releases them, it's a source of great entertainment for all of us. So I don't want to encourage him to stop. I want to encourage him to continue releasing these. And I don't remember, what did he predict for me last year? Does anyone remember? Because I don't. I think it actually was a favorable prediction for me, but I couldn't tell you for sure. Yeah, look, he's free to do whatever he wants, of course. And he's a member of the press, just as the rest of us are. It's a citizen press, citizen coaches, situation. So he can do what he wants. But I won't comment on my preferred rankings until he goes first, because he will volunteer to go first.
Thanks, Coach. And I know we've been focusing and concentrating a lot on just Coach Lampman, but really want to turn our attention over to Coach Hinkie and who he's going to be keeping and re-signing for this upcoming year.
I'm kind of tired of his hostility to the press, to be honest with you. He thinks he's above media. He thinks that journalists aren't worth the paper on the wall in his house. And I'll tell you what, I'm getting real tired of it. He's above the league. I've had just about enough of that attitude from him. And it's strange that he's acting so high and mighty. What does he want in this league? I'm seriously like, why? Oh, I can't answer any questions. Well, maybe you should listen to what people have to say, and you might learn something.
Coach Alke, circling back to the rankings Coach Lampman had last year on August 30th, he had you ranked at 3rd going into the season.
Well, okay, that's he was only 2 places off, so it's not terrible. He didn't offend me in last year's rankings, certainly. Who did he have ranked last?
Last year it was Coach Dow.
How do you feel about that, Mr. Stout?
So we're going to recircle back to Coach Inky's first-round pick.
Dang it.
So he has a lot to pick from, Coach Elke.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, your honest opinion, who do you think he's going to pick between Saquon Barkley? He's had a rough pass with him. He's got Antonio Brown on his team now, a former NFL champion on his team. Who's he going to pick?
Well, I think he's going to pick Aaron Jones. I really do. Saquon's a possibility, but I think that's taking a shot in the dark, taking a little bit of a risk coming off of that major injury. Although, the more I think about it, I mean, it's kind of similar to Dalvin Cook's injury, and he came back pretty strong. But yeah, I think in the end of the day, he'll go with the security blanket, Aaron Jones. I don't think he'll take the chance with Saquon, and I think Saquon will be a first-round pick.
Okay. Coach, you want to talk about your year and what your expectations are for your team?
My expectations were, no, just kidding. Well, my expectations for this season, obviously it's hard to repeat. It's very hard to repeat. So I would say baseline expectations going into this season, our goal versus expectation is a question. So I would say expectation is we're back in the playoffs again for sure, and the goal is to be in the title game with a chance to win. We want to be in that position again, but certainly we don't want to miss out on the playoffs, and that's always step one.
Coach Gonzalez has three-peated. Do you think that you'll consider his advice and what he has to say to how you get back to the championship game?
No, I don't think I will consider his advice. But I don't think he was offering anyway, so I guess it's a win-win. I think that Coach Gonzalez, he's very good at deciding when to stick with guys and when to let them go. It seems to me, and he will hold on to guys where if one of us dealt with him for a couple weeks in a row, we would cut him immediately. But Coach Gonzalez holds on to him the whole year, and he tends to have good success sticking with guys, or at least it seems that way. But yeah, no. As far as advice goes, I typically tend to kind of water my own yard, as some might say. Is that it, guys?
One more question,
Oh,
Coach
okay.
Oki. Last year, the topic of your interview was the song WAP. What do you think about the latest Meg Thee Stallion song? It starts with Thought. Can you finish off the name of that song and just let us know your thoughts about it?
So you like my thoughts?
Thoughts.
Thought?
Thought.
Oh, okay. A thought about thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as far as my thoughts go about thought, I think it's pretty hot, and I'm not saying that it's not. I don't really have much to say about this, other than if I hear it playing in my locker room, I'll tell you what, coaches, I'm going to have a talk with my team about distractions and how they need to keep their mind on football.
Are you saying there's something wrong with the new song "Thought" by Megan Thee Stallion?
What makes it so bad?
Well, I would never say that it was bad. I'm going to just say that it was a distraction if they had the music video.
But how is it
on.
a distraction?
If they had the music video.
Can you elaborate on how it's a distraction to your team?
So it's okay.
We have a locker room full of grown men that are in the
it's
prime
okay.
of their sexual lives. Okay,
It's okay that they can listen to Ted Nugent's Stranglehold, but they cannot listen to a Meg Thee Stallion song.
Well, I guess they can listen to either one, really.
So you're saying it's okay for your athletes to participate in listening to the new song by Megan Thee
Of
Stallion?
course they can listen to it. Everyone is American here. They have every right to listen to that song.
Even in the locker room.
Well, that's my locker room, so, it's my locker room, my rules. That's my job as their coach. But, of course, if they have their headphones on, they can listen to whatever they want to. But as far as the musical choice for the whole locker room, I might have a little bit of control over that.
So you would not allow your athletes to put that on in the locker room?
Well, I said the music video. I didn't say the song.
Okay, so they could play that throughout the locker room if they wanted to.
Well, yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible.
No further questions, Coach.
Oh, okay. Whew. Thank goodness. I was about to say something racist. Oh my goodness. Well, it was fun, gentlemen, and an honor to be the first interview of the season. Y'all have a good year, and look forward to our matchups.